Hello, welcome. Just admitting everybody in.
Hey, Mama.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I am just dandy. I'm excited. I'm open. It's a whole lot.
Good. Oh, Javon, I sent you a client. Her name's Sarah. She'll probably message you for a Yoni's team.
Okay. Thank you kindly.
I'm like, that is not my wheelhouse.
It could be, but we won't go there.
We'll get there, girl. We'll get there. But I'm like, you need Javon. Like, I can do all of this stuff, but that stuff, you go see her.
Right.
Yeah.
We had Katrina in here. Is she on? Hi, Katrina.
I'm here. Do you don't see me?
Yes. Hi.
Oh, okay.
I guess it doesn't show me the people until you guys start talking. I'm on my phone because my laptop is kooky.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm here. Okay.
Awesome sauce. All right.
We got a very big storm that just is blowing over. There's a whole lot of noise going on outside right now.
Windy now. Yeah, it's crazy all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, because you guys are close to each other. Ooh.
Katrina, I'm in Surfside.
Okay, I'm in Burgess off of 707.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, you all be safe out there. If we get, for some reason, we won't speak it, but let's hope we'll stay connected. And if not, I'll keep going and you'll get the repeat or come back in or whatever you need to do.
Yep, we're good.
All right. So I know one person will not be joining us live tonight. I haven't heard from the other person. So we're going to go ahead and get started because there's so much to uncover. And the interesting thing is that, like, I have been trying to work on this module since our last live. I have the notes written down, but for some reason, every time I sat to my computer to type it up and add it to the platform, I just got a block. So, excuse me, yesterday I kind of sat with the fact that I think this is a conversation that we need to have live first before you do the deep dive on your own. So this week, we're talking about healing. Last week, we did, we ventured into the void of our womb space. We went on a very beautiful, interesting journey. I have to say, I did not prepare that meditation beforehand. And moving through it was powerful for me. So if anyone wants to share, anything that has come up or any questions that you may have that, you want to talk about on this space, definitely feel free to do that. I'll open the floor for that now, before we move forward. Because one of the things that I am sure about with this whole process, and I've said this from the beginning, that this is not just how to be a womb wellness advocate. This is really a journey through your own womb. And through that, we'll be able to, I actually think I'm going to turn this water off tonight. Because for some reason, it seems extra loud, as if I'm competing with that. I want this to be not just okay, here's how you do it step by step, but I want this to be like a real journey into your womb space, healing your womb space. And from that healed place, you're able to advocate for the womb, right? You're able to be the voice of the voiceless wombs, if that makes sense, right? We all know that every womb has a voice. If you listen, she is always speaking, whether you want to hear her or not. There are times when, like, I want to act a certain way, and that deep knowing in myself is like, girl, you know better. And I'm like, dang it, you right. So the womb space is always speaking, but sometimes if we're not in a place, or if we're not open, or if we're just unaware, we can't always hear her. So our role, our assignment as womb wellness advocates is to be that voice, and to help other women navigate their own womb space in order to find their voice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's anything anybody wants to share before we get started, the floor is yours.
I just have a question about the shadow part of it, right? Because I've
Yes.
never, since I had my second son, and you know his story, like I haven't really connected to the shadow part. I'm very disconnected from that. And I feel like I need to get there to get there, right?
Right.
Like I need to get in there. I guess I just don't know the best way to navigate that. How often, like, what does that look like? And coincidentally enough, I have 3 clients this week who also need to do the same thing. And I know that that's why they're there. So we can kind of figure it out together. But like for my own mental, like I need to get to a good space there for me to be able to help other people. And so I don't really know if that's really a question, but just so you know what I'm feeling.
I understand that completely. The question that is coming up for me first before I go there, are you open to talking about this here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
My question for you, and you don't have to speak that here, but my question would be, when we did the journey last week, and there was that whole, like, the womb space that you know, your conscious womb space, the womb space that you're familiar with, and we did the journey into like that other spot. Was there anything for you? Did you feel anything? Was there anything that stood out? What was that experience like for you?
I mean, it was really emotional. Like I wanted to like see things, but I think I felt things more than I saw things, right? Like, and I think during meditation, I always see things. I don't necessarily feel things until after. But this time I was just feeling just like sadness, and like there was like feelings of like being scared and anxious and also appreciative. Like there was a whole host of feelings. But it felt like very uncharted territory.
Can I say something, offer a different perspective that
Yes.
maybe you haven't realized? That is the shadow of your womb.
Okay. Okay.
So here's the thing. The fact that you felt rather than saw tells me that for the first time, you've dropped down into your body. Your womb space, your sacral chakra, is all about the feeling. Right. So the fact that you felt those things, you were exactly where you needed to be. You had the exact experience. Like that is the most beautiful outcome that could have come from that.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? You ventured into the void, the unknown. And so, because the first thing that came up for me, because again, I know the situation, was have you allowed yourself to really feel what you feel as it pertains to how you connect with your womb? Yeah. Instead of saying, because one of the things that I noticed, and you know, if I go too far, I say, hey, Javon, that's never. One of the things that I noticed is that when you talk about it, it's very fast. Like you're just like, you're getting the facts. These are the facts. This is what happened. And because of that, this is where I am. Okay. That's that masculine energy. That's why you are able to see things differently, because what a lot of people don't understand is when it comes to like these higher chakras, that is mostly your masculine energy. And that's where we thrive. That's, believe it or not, where we feel comfortable, because it's logistical. It's, even though it's unknown, but I can at least see something to connect the dots. Yeah. When you are dropping down and you are feeling into your womb space, that is intuition, that is the knowing, that is like, it doesn't make sense, it just is, and I feel it, and boom. From that, now that you have already connected with the shadow of your womb space, The next step for you is now what do we do with it? And that's the healing component that we're going to talk about moving forward.
Okay, good.
So you've connected with the shadow of your womb.
Yeah, I didn't.
Congratulations.
Right. I'm like, I don't know what this is.
Do.
Right. I don't know what to do with all this.
Right. And listen, last week wasn't about the healing part. That was this. Last week we just needed to go there.
Right.
Because again, and I've been doing these womb guided meditations, and more often than not, we stay in the conscious part of the womb. Like, I know I've experienced these things, so I can see what's in my womb space based on my life experiences, based on like relationship. Like, I know what's there. Even if I don't want to address it, I know it's there. That unconscious part or that shadow part, that's the stuff that, like, okay, you can have everything but that. We can talk about everything but that. I'm going to feel everything but that.
Yep. Yeah.
So you have found the shadow of your womb space. And it's beautiful because now, as you're helping your clients navigate, you now have a point of reference of, okay, get past things that you know you need to work on, or the things that you're willing to work on. And I've said that before. It's like, even in personal development, in our spiritual walk, whether it's God, spirit, source, the universe, like, here, you can have this, work on this because I want a better life. Don't have what's over here because I want to hold on to that, even though this is probably what I need you to work on to get to the better life.
Right.
This is the easy stuff. You can have the easy stuff. Tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to go over here. Let's stay here. It don't work like that. That's surface level healing. That's surface level womb talk. That's surface level feminine energy.
Right.
We're going into the deep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the work I like to do. I like to go into the deep. So yes,
like, oh my God, I'm feeling stuff. Right. Thank you.
I am so excited for you, knowing that that was the experience that you had, because now it takes this work and this next component to a whole nother level. And like, maybe that's why we couldn't do the modules first, because maybe that connection needed to be made in order for you to deepen the work in the next step.
Right.
So yes, I'm so happy for you. Like,
Thank
yay!
you. Thank you. Sorry, Katina. I took a whole lot of time. Sorry, love.
No, listen, do not apologize. This is what this is for. Okay. Let me make sure we don't have anybody waiting. All right. Katrina, you good? Anything you want to add, ask, say?
I'm good.
Okay. So, when it comes to healing your womb space, there takes a level of vulnerability. I'm going to be drinking a lot during this because I took some apple cider vinegar earlier and my throat is on fire still. Like, it's not doing well. Okay. When it comes to, like I said, the healing component and the next level and like sitting in the shadow, there is a level of vulnerability that is required. When I began doing shadow work, I like to prepare myself because I got to be ready for this thing. There's no better way to say it. So what I want to do today, I want to do a breathing exercise just to kind of open us up and get us to like a place of transparency and vulnerability, and just to set the intention for what we are doing tonight. And then from that, we'll talk and we'll move forward. Cool beans? So I want to do this breathing exercise, and I didn't come up with this, I borrowed it from Londrell. Listen, look him up on YouTube. That man is amazing. I am already aware of fire breaths, but to me, it takes it to another level. So what we're going to do, on the inhale, we're going to come into our heart space. On the exhale, we're going to push it out. So we're going to do that 6 times, and then we're going to go 6 times. Okay? So before we get started, let's take a deep breath. If at any moment you feel lightheaded, definitely go at your own pace. But know that these breaths, the intention for this breath is to open up our heart chakra, to open up our heart space to each other, to open up our heart space to ourselves and to this work that we are doing, to be vulnerable. Okay. And as I'm saying that, I feel like there also needs to be an expression towards the womb space as well. To open up the womb space as well. Okay, so we're going to do 3 in and out, 3 up and down, 3 in and out to the womb space. Okay, all right, ready? Deep breath in. Okay, go up. Okay, and out to the womb space. I invite you to place one hand on your heart, your left hand on your womb space. Repeat after me to yourself or out loud. I am open to this experience. I am vulnerable to this moment. I am here in the now. I'm open to the voice of my womb. I'm open to the lessons being shared. I'm open to this next level of healing. I'm open to this next level of vulnerability. I heal myself, my heart, my womb, my soul, so that I may heal others. I do this work for myself, for my family, for my community, for the world. Ashe, Amen, Hallelujah, Namaste. I did a live shortly before this because there was so much in my heart and in my womb that I wanted to share, so much about healing. I feel so very deeply and passionately that there is a next level of healing that has to take place on an individual level, on a global level, for the collective, right? I feel like this shift that we've been talking about, that we talked about on the very first module, the shifting of the paradigm, I feel like in order for us to truly see that manifest in this lifetime, that there is a deeper level of healing that needs to happen. When you, and this just came to me, so I'm excited because I've never felt it in this way, but when you heal on a deeper level, you collapse time when it comes to the things that are available to you and for you. We experience things, life happens, and it just is what it is, right? And sometimes like we bump our heads up against a brick wall trying to figure out what to do, where to go, what's the answer. And, you know, we go to this person and we go to that person and we read all the books and we go sit in the prayer circle or the sister circle, or, you know, we sit in the therapist chair, which all of that is necessary. But if we still are not open and vulnerable to healing on a deeper level, we spend so much time going in circles and like just the hamster on a wheel. Whereas when we go deeper and when we heal on the cellular level, we're able to collapse time when it comes to the things that we want to manifest, the things that we desire, the things that we want to see. Does that make sense? And so part of our role, our assignment as womb wellness advocates is like navigating the journey into the deep. Because it's not as if people don't sit in the deep, because they do. Like, there are some people that they just lean into their darkness and they lean into their sadness and they lean into their depression and they just operate from that space. That ain't good either. We go there, we visit it, we deal with it, we process, and then we move forward. We heal from it. So our assignment is to help guide them on that healing journey. In order to do that, we must first do that ourselves. So first, I want to talk about a diseased womb, a diseased womb, physically and energetically. Because what I believe to be true is if you look at the state of your womb, you will see the state of your life. If you look at the state of the womb of the earth, you will see the state of the world. Look at how women are dealing with themselves. Look at how we're treating the earth, right? Because that's Mother Earth. You will see the state of what's happening and why we got to that point. Because we're not honoring the land and the earth and all of that. There's pollution, there's this, there's that. Like, you can see if you look at the state of the womb. So a diseased womb, a womb with a disease, physically and energetically, is the complete opposite of what we want. So what does a diseased womb look like? A diseased womb look like from a physical standpoint? You can tell in your menstrual cycle. If your cycles are heavy, you're passing blood clots, it's irregular, it's, you know, very painful, you can't get out of bed. You see it in, if you deal with endometriosis, if you deal with PCOS, like there are so many different issues and diseases and STDs and STIs. And do you know what I found out? A not so fun fact, that a male can have, a biological man can have an STD or an STI and not show any symptoms. It don't mess up his life, not one iota of a bit. But if a woman gets something, we itching, we burning, we got nasty discharge, we got uncomfortable, you know, sex, and like, why is that? The womb is the most important thing. Your body is screaming, hey, something ain't right. If something ain't right in the camp, we got to do something different. I'm not saying men are less than or they're not, you know, worthy, but I'm trying to get us to see the value of the womb. Does that make sense? So when you're dealing with the physical dis-ease of the womb, there are surface level things that we can do, right? We can change how we eat. We can incorporate supplements. We could honor our bodies, you know, use condoms, not give ourselves to any and everybody else. You know, we can track the cycles of our womb to notice like if there are any like environmental triggers. We can look at like the chemicals that we're putting on our bodies when it comes to, you know, our makeup, our skincare, our, you know, hair care products, like all of that. And so you'll find that the more you understand the physical portion of your womb space, you'll start looking at things like, you know, at first it was like, oh, take a probiotic, but you start researching, oh, you need a probiotic and a prebiotic. You know what I'm saying? Like you start looking at different things. I remember a couple of years ago, there was this whole campaign or this whole movement about how there were certain chemicals that were put in Black women's hair care that was like causing breast cancer. And that's why breast cancer was more prevalent in Black women. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's not just in Black, products or, products for Black women. It's the products in the whole entire world, especially in the United States, like the FDA, like we let anything slide up in here. You look at how many products are banned and how many chemicals are banned in other countries and then what's banned in the USA. And there's a reason why the state of the womb as it pertains to women on a national level, there are more people with more women with PCOS. There are more women facing, infertility issues and all this other kind of stuff. So there are like environmental things that we can do. There are like different foods we can incorporate. There are herbs we can incorporate. There's more exercising, more drinking water. If you look at the diseasement of your womb from an energetic standpoint, your lack of creativity, your inability to connect sexually, your inability to be selective with who you connect with sexually. Like fluidity, which, okay, be free, but still be sacred. Like you're free to love who you want and have sex with whoever you want, but beloved, honor your body. Like know that you're valuable. Like your hidden jewel is sacred. We're not doing that. We're just be free. My body, I can give my body to whoever I want to. I can show my boobs on social media because at least I'm taking back power. You're not objectifying me, which is the most asinine thing I've ever heard. So when you look at like the energetic womb space, and you have to look at it's the same thing, like, the sacral chakra, like, we have energy healers in the group. So think about, what does a blocked chakra look like? What is when you know that the sacral chakra is off, what does that look like? And then how does that relate to women? How does that relate to like naturally? You have a client and she, for the life of her, she used to love to dance and she used to love to sing, but she can't find the song in her heart. She can't, she has no joy in her life. She doesn't feel uplifted. She doesn't feel energetic. She doesn't feel harmonious. Her womb, we'll look at that. Right, no creation, no creativity. Creativity, that is the biggest thing. And when we talk about creativity in terms of women, that is so like, that can be creating physical, creating energetically. Like, it baffles me how many women, and I say PCOS because that's the one that's like, y'all, when I tell you, I have come across so many women that's what they're dealing with. But then you have conversations with them and you ask them, well, what are your relationships like? You have a client, oh, me and my husband, we've been trying to conceive and we can't. And the doctor says that we have peace. Okay, that was weird. That was weird. Did y'all hear that? No? All right. Yes, you did hear that. Okay, that was weird. For my own sanity, I'm gonna just go check the front door. I'll be right back. Or maybe they're working on the roof still. I don't know.
They are not working on the roof at night.
That's true. They're not working on the roof.
I just thought of that. I haven't looked outside today. It's still dark.
It's just as dark outside. I mean, that ain't sound right. Okay, it almost sounds, it's weird because it sounds like it's behind me, but it also sounds like it's above me.
It's above.
I got that storm that's coming through us. It might be spreading.
Okay. Well, yeah, the front door is locked, so we're good. We're held, guided, and supported, so, and protected, so, okay. Come back. Disease, energetic womb space, yes. I've actually seen it happen. And this is why, like, you might see on social media when we talk about how we've been able to help women, like, you know, who weren't experiencing ovulation, or, you know, had an inability to have a child, who now have a child. But like, what I didn't say, and what I probably need to say, is that, yeah, they took the herbs, but we've also been doing like energetic work, like healing of the womb space, talking about certain things, working on the relationship between husband and wife, you know, boyfriend and girlfriend. And so I believe all of that combined, looking at what the person's eating, all of that combined is what has helped the two of my clients be able to ovulate and now be pregnant. So, knowing what we know about the womb space, all that it contains, right? There is a study of epigenetics. Epigenetics says that there are many factors that play a part in DNA. It's not just Y chromosome, X chromosome. Is that it? Science is not my thing. But like, it's environmental things, it's emotional things, it's mental things. And so what we say as it pertains to the womb is knowing what we know about the woman being born with every egg that she's ever going to have in life. Knowing that, meaning that your grandmother had your mother, she was carrying all the eggs. When your grandmother was carrying your mother was carrying all of her eggs, which means essentially she was carrying you. So essentially your grandmother carried you. When you think about that, and you think about the experiences that your grandmother had, the experiences that your mother have, the experiences that you have, you probably see a correlation and a connection. One of the things that I got out of moving back home, because in the period of me like transitioning back to South Carolina in 2018, I lived with my grandmother for a while. And like, my grandmother and I, this particular grandmother, she was the working grandmother, you know, Miss Businesswoman. The most hands-on things I did with my grandmother was when she worked in her garden. So we didn't spend like a lot of like quality time together, because she would always say like, I'm not your typical grandmother. Like, she wasn't like the you come and play at her house, whatever. So living with her as an adult, I got to see how she sits when she watches TV. You know, I got to see that like, she complains about being tired, but can't ever sit down. And I'm like, oh Lord, here I am thinking I got it from my mama. My mama got it from my grandma. My mother is very much business minded, you know, always got to be doing something, and I'm right there. And it's just like, that was the biggest aha moment to womb wellness, and the beginning of my womb wellness journey was looking at my grandmother in an intimate setting, to the point where like, my grandma is so feminine and dainty. She even crosses her feet while she watches TV, even if nobody is in the room. I'm the same way. I am overly feminine. So if that is true, then you start thinking about hereditary diseases. You start thinking about mental illness. You start thinking about birth trauma. You start thinking about all these experiences that we deal with as women, that are compounded effects of what we've been dealing with for generations, that go all the way back to slavery, all the way back to the Salem witch trials, all the way back to Adam and Eve, if that's your belief. We have a lot of shit to navigate. So it ain't just my experience with childhood sexual trauma. I found out my mama went through it. My grandmother went through it. Like, every woman in my family went through sexual trauma of some sort. What the hell? So it feels like it is a huge undertaking and a huge responsibility. And when you think about it from that standpoint, it doesn't seem very appealing to want to embark on. But the reality is that it's very necessary because it can literally stop with you. Because think about it. Ooh, I always get emotional when I talk about this kind of stuff. Think about it. Every woman in your bloodline may have had traumatic experiences, may have had sexual trauma, bad relationships, financial troubles, disconnections with their, mother-daughter relationship, all of that. But you are now taking in new information. You are now working on your healing. You are now eating right. You are now drinking water. And all of that is becoming a part of your DNA. And so now you're putting new stuff out into the universe, new stuff out into your family. And so that's great if you've never had a child, because now like you're birthing something new and you're creating something new, and the new baby is, cooking all in that. And it's like, woohoo, this is good. But then what happens if I already have kids though? Does this not apply to them because they're already here? No, it still applies. Why does it apply? Because they're still connected to you. They're still absorbing your energy. You're still teaching them and nurturing them and raising them. I don't care if they're 36. I still call my mom to lay on her shoulder. At 36, I did it yesterday. Those words of wisdom, it was long to get to the process. I love you, mother. But the nuggets that she gave me are now a part of my DNA, are now a part of my knowing, are now a part of my understanding. So it continues. So this is why this work is important. It is not comfortable, it is not pretty, it is not easy, but it's so important. So when, like I said, you think about all the different things that you've experienced, and in the actual, module, we're going to like really do a deep dive into everything, because there's so much that women can experience. And the reason why you have lifetime access to this course is because like, it's always something, right? There's something new to add. Like now we have, about sexual trauma, the female archetypes, all those things. But now you have to take into account like those humans that were born biological women that identify as male. What does womb healing look like for them? There's a whole deeper conversation that needs to happen. I personally have not had the experience. I'm still learning. I'm currently connected to, and I'm currently connected to a young man who was biologically born female. And so we're working together for me to have a deepening understanding. So this is going to be an ongoing conversation, this healing piece, because there's going to be stuff that comes up. And what you'll find, and the same is true for like the collective, but also for yourself, is that as you evolve, there's going to be something else. As you work on your healing, there's going to be something else. Years ago, Elder Jan, I love her, in this church in Baltimore, she did this sermon about healing, and she had these different mirrors. And the first mirror was like, your first level of healing, when you first are like, okay, I'm ready, or you have an introduction to what needs to be healed. Like, God, spirit, source, universe will show you like a compact size mirror, and you work on like what you can see in the compact size mirror. And so it's like, okay, I need to heal this. And then, all right, now we'll get a hand mirror, and now I can see a little bit more. Okay, now we need to heal this. And then we'll have like a full body mirror. And then there's like, whoa, okay, there's more. Now we need to heal this. Like, it's not like, let's try to do a deep dive into everything right away. No, you didn't get to this point overnight. Healing is not going to be overnight. And the beautiful part is the journey. Like, healing can be beautiful. This voyage into the unknown, into the void, because what I said earlier today is that I already know what I'm experiencing in this life, in this form, with this understanding. So yes, in order for me to heal something, I have to go sit in the shadows, and it is unknown, and it is uncomfortable, and I do feel the pain, and I do feel the trauma, and I do have to like relive some things that may have been, suppressed deep down into my subconscious. But what's on the other side of healing is unknown. And because I know that I am a creator, because I have a womb space, because I am the divine creatrix, because I am the divine reflection of God, the ultimate creator, I know that whatever is on the other side can be whatever I want it to be, because I can create all this shit. Whew. That makes me happy. Because I know what's on this side. But what's on the other side, I get to create while I'm in the shadows. I get to look at what's there. I get to look at what's unknown and decide from a place of power, from a place of knowing, from a place of I am the creator of all this shit. Is this something that can be beneficial, or is it something that we need to toss aside? Is this something that was maybe manipulated, that started off as something pure but was manipulated? Which was, for me, it was love. I used to think love hurt, love was trauma, because my first interaction with sexual abuse was when I was 6. I loved him and he loved me. He was like my father. So for me, it was okay that love hurt, because that's what my experience of love was. So it wasn't love that was bad, because I used to be like, well, I don't want that love shit. Love hurts. No, love doesn't hurt. The manipulation of the humans that presented this form of love hurt. But love in its purest, truest form is beautiful. But if you don't sit in the shadows and deal with that and understand that, then you can't take that part away and make it something new. Are we all understanding? Yes, yes? Okay, cool. So the first thing that I like to do, because we are women, because we have wombs, because we know what we know about epigenetics, when we talk about healing the womb, I like to start with the main female archetypes. If you had a womb session with me, that is where we start, because through those, we can uncover so many different things. So instead of like doing a deep dive, right? So we do a womb meditation, like we always have. You know, we go into the womb space, we take inventory of what's there, and then after that womb guided meditation, after they're open, after they're vulnerable, after they're sat in their womb space, we've had an introduction to the womb, they've said what they needed to say to their womb, they have allowed their womb to speak to them, and then they just share, right? They just journal freely. And by journaling, I mean talking to me freely, because at this point, I am their journal, I am their safe space, right? For you and your own personal healing, it could be like video recording, talking in the mirror, whatever you need to do to get it out. Once we get it out, we look at it, we say, okay, this is what we have to work with. I always start with the female archetypes. So the main female archetypes, there are 4. There's the maiden, there's the mother, there's the wild woman, there's the wise woman. And different ideologies will use different names. Like you'll hear crone, you'll hear rebel, you'll hear the virgin. They're all the same. So the maiden relates to that, the youngest part, right? The purest part, that is, you know, the virgin, that is the characteristics of the maiden. They're free, they're playful, they have no inhibitions, they're curious. You know, they're a little bit stubborn because they know who they don't know who they are yet, but they know that, like, to their own self be true. To their understanding, they have a sense of who they are, and nobody's going to tell them, and they're just free and all of that. They're inquisitive because the world is still, like, even though I have this understanding of myself, there's still so much to explore, and I'm here and I'm open and I'm like, huh. In biological terms, that is like infancy to adolescent. So if you think about yourself in an infant, toddler, childhood, adolescent, preteen, adolescent, think about how you were at that time. You were open, you were vulnerable, you were very impressionable. But you had no fear. You had no fear of strangers. You didn't see color. You didn't see poor or rich. if you look at children, and one of the things I love to do, and my wife loves to do too, like we love to like be around kids, especially when like the world gets heavy. My favorite thing as a mother, and I don't get to do it as much because they're older, but my favorite thing when I used to have a bad day would be like play with my children, color with my, like do something with my children, because everything just seems so pure in their eyes. And so when you look at your life experiences, you're open, but sometimes that also leaves room for people to take advantage. That leaves room for you to experience pain because your well-being is in the hands of somebody else. And if the person that is supposed to take care of me, supposed to cover me, supposed to be there for me, if they do me wrong, then that builds distrust. So the core of what you experience and what you feel in your womb space can be traced back to the maiden. What I want to say too, and this is a deeper conversation, we won't get all into it, but it will be in the online module, is that not only women are cyclical beings, not only do we transition through these archetypes in a chronological level of our life, we also transition through these archetypes on an energetic level throughout the month. If you look at your menstrual cycle, there are moments of your biological menstrual cycle where you're the maiden, the mother, the wild woman, and the wise woman, and we'll break that down. So you'll see correlations. Like I'm telling you guys, once you really understand womb wisdom, life opens up on a whole, like you start looking at stuff differently, like, oh, so this is why. Like in my business, I am the most creative around the full moon. Like this shit here, this is my kind of energy. The new moon, for some reason, not so much. That's when I was, but yeah. So I've had to learn. Like I used to beat myself up. Oh my gosh, especially in the chronological year. The new year for me, how most people are like, oh, it's a new year, and I'm gonna go get it, and I'm gonna. That didn't align for me. I didn't really like rev up until the springtime. The after the new year, like I was still very much in hibernation mode, in cocoon mode. It wasn't until I started learning about the cycles of the feminine energy, the cycles of the archetypes, the cycles of the menstrual cycle, the cycles of the moon, that I realized, oh, I'm right where I need to be. It's the rest of you mofos that's off. This is off of some masculine energy stuff. That's why it doesn't align. So I do want to put that little caveat there so we can understand that moving forward, that you can experience these in chronological, biological levels, but also energetics as well. As above, so below, as in the spirit, so in the natural. So most of the time when, maidens, that brings up like questions about our sexuality, because that's when we lose our virginity. That's, our personal identity about who we are in the world. We're still trying to figure that out. Like our hair is red today, it's blue tomorrow. We want braids today, we want spikes tomorrow. Like there's this whole like discovery, coming of age. There's a lot that happens in that maiden phase. That if we go back to that, we'll see the foundation for a lot of where we are now. It's like, oh yeah. Think about your first experience, your first love. Just take a second, think about your first love. How did that go for you? What did that teach you about love and relationships? Does that show up in your current life now? If you're married, if you're divorced, if you're dating, if you're celibate, if you play in the field, if you giving it all up, no judgment. But is there a correlation between that first love and how you feel about relationships now? The next archetype that we move through once we do all that, whatever comes up for that, we process that as it comes, is the mother. Now, the energy of the mother, she is nurturing. She is the one that's taking care of everybody. She is the one that's like, she's not out in the streets, because, she got to cook dinner for the family, and she has to she's trying to build her career, and she's very focus driven. And she's either thinking about or it could be everything, but like she's mapping out her life. She's planning out her life. She's working on that kind of thing. Like I said, she's nurturing, she's taking care of everyone. Her identity is found in her ability to do for others. This is typically between like your early to mid 20s, and that place right before, like, you know, menopause, right? That these are what we call the reproductive years. So biologically, there's some things that come with that. Physically, there's some things that come with that. This is where a lot of women have like the STDs, the STIs, you know, the PCOS, like a lot of like the physical ailments show up in this phase, right? You take into account, like, are you resting because, like, you know, you got to get it, you got goals, you got to make money, you got to take care of the kids, you got to take care, you know, so like there's a lot that happens in this phase too. There's a lot of, what's the word that I'm looking for? Self-sacrificing that happens in this phase because you're taking care of everybody else, or because you're trying to go get it, you're trying to build. It's what I like to call the worker phase. Now, if you look at this phase, right? What I have found is that a lot of women, this is where that mother wound shows up. You either had a great relationship with your mother and you try to emulate her, which may or not be working. You may feel like you can, you may feel like you're living up to it, you may feel like you're not. You could have had a not so great relationship with your mother and you're trying to be the complete opposite, which can be like, maybe you're pushing yourself too hard because, oh my God, my mother was never there for my children or for us, or I'm trying to be there for my children and build a career and be the perfect mom. And so I got to make all the lunches and cut the sandwiches into little squares, and I have to have the handwritten notes and lunch boxes. I only know that because that was me. Like when my kids were little, I was so adamant that I wanted to be like a different, not that my mother was horrible, but my mother was a workaholic. So my mother was never there. I was the one who took care of me and my little sisters. So when my children got of age, like I wanted to be like Betty Crocker mixed with like Rachel Ray, like and Martha Stewart. Like I had to have the perfect house and like the perfect meal and like handwritten notes. And I was working because I was a single mom. I was exhausted. And what happened to me and what I see happens in a lot of my clients is the very things about my mother that I was working so hard to avoid, I ran smack into them. So in this season, in this cycle of life, in this portion of healing the womb, look at your role as a mother, your experience as a mother. Look at your relationship with your mother, the mother figures in your life. But also, how are you taking care of yourself versus how you're taking care and showing up for others? The best thing I ever did for myself was heal my relationship with my mother. And it's deep, y'all. I've told the story, it's in my book, it's no secret. I was molested by my stepfather for years. My mother had inklings about it, but I never like told her. But then when it came like flat front and center in her face, she kind of ignored it because she didn't want to lose her husband. She looked at me one day and told me, you know how you are jealous and you hate the other woman? Well, in this case, you were the other woman. No, I wasn't. I was the child. So there was a whole, like, when it came to like me as a mother, me and mother figures, there was a whole lot of healing I had to do, y'all. And even now, like, there are still things that show up that I have to address. But I had to do those things in order to be a better mother and in order to have, watch this, in order to have a healthy balance and not be a people pleaser. A lot of women who have issues with their mothers are people pleasers. If your mother was either too on you or not on you enough, If you never felt like you could live up to your mother's, expectations, you go above and beyond and try to prove yourself to people. And if your mother was horrible and you know how that feels, then you go above and beyond to be there for other people because you don't want people to feel how you felt. It's this vicious cycle. And look at the ages that we're in the mother stage biologically. Your 20s to pre-menopause, which is like your 40s. There's 20 fucking years of your life of this cycle. That is a good chunk of your life. And in that time, you're doing relationships, you may or may not be having children, you're doing careers, and all of that is being navigated through these wounds. You're approaching all of these life experiences while dealing with the mother wound. Breathe through it. I know that's a lot. I used to always say, I can do everything else, but relationships, I'm not good at relationships. It wasn't that I wasn't good at relationships. I had to look and I had to look at the relationship with my mother and of course my father. But I had to look at my mother from woman to woman, womb to womb. The biggest question I always get was, how are you able to heal the relationship with your mom? How are you able to forgive your mom? How are y'all able? Because I genuinely love my mother. I have boundaries. There are some times where I don't want to deal with her because I know energetically I'm not in the place. And that was something else that had to come through healing because I had no boundaries when it came to my mama. Like my mama was the only person who could intimidate me, make me feel like a child. It was bad, y'all. But the first thing I had to do in order to heal my relationship with my mother, I had to look at my mother woman to woman and womb to womb, not mother to daughter. I couldn't look at her like, you were supposed to protect me. You were supposed, because it was just, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. But when I look at it from woman to woman, I can see a single mother, this man was the love of your life, and he wasn't the provider, and he helped you because he was the homemaker. I can see why you kind of didn't want to give that up. I could see womb to womb, oh man, you experienced sexual trauma too. So I can see how you have no boundaries when it comes to relationships or whatever the case may be, because you were never taught any boundaries. Oh, well, that's why you don't have boundaries with me as your daughter. You have no reference point. Oh. So then I was able to forgive her. I was able to empathize and then create healthy boundaries for myself and then enforce those boundaries so that we can have a healthy relationship. Ooh. And I will say it is beautiful because in those moments when I need my mama, she is always there. Even if I just call her to sing me the Goodnight God song so I can go to sleep, which she has done as an adult. It's beautiful. The next archetype, the wild woman. This is what it sounds like. She is wild. She is free. She don't give a fuck. She is rebelling. She is flirting. She is sexual. She has no inhibitions. She is like the maiden, but on some grown woman stuff. If that makes any sense at all. It's one thing to be free. You are beautiful. You are. I saw that today, but I ain't want to say nothing. But you are. And I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm here for it all. Think about the maiden. We talked about how the maiden is she's open and she's inquisitive, but there's this, I don't want to say, this airiness about the maiden. The wild woman, there is no airiness. There is this knowing and this assurance and this I want to try it and I'm inquisitive about it, but I'm not bubble-headed. I've done my research. I choose you. Thank you. Innocence to the maiden. Thank you, Katrina. Like the wild woman is like, I've already thought this through. I've already figured out the if then scenarios. Hey, brother at the bar, you look good, not choose you today. No, we don't have to get married. No, like I already know the consequences. Or I choose this new career. I want to go skydiving, whatever it is. The maiden is like laser focused. That can be a bad side though, because there's no room for like, is fluidity the word that I want to use? There's no room for spontaneity. There's no room for I feel it, but I can't find the word. So, like I said, the wild woman, she's very laser focused. She has tunnel vision, so she can't see like here. It's just exactly what I want. And so, with that, you're not always open to other people's opinion. You're not always open to a new perspective. Excuse me. You're not always open to a new train of thought. Remember, life is full of duality. So in all of these, there's both sides of the coin. There's light and there's dark. There's the good and the bad, right? The power of owning your womb wisdom is understanding harmony. I don't really believe in balance, but understanding how to like flow and navigate in a healthy way throughout both sides. Like, there are some areas where you don't need to take on other people. Like, you don't need to hear what other people have to say. You got a new business idea and you know in your heart and in your soul that it was given to you from the creator. Like, that is what you were supposed to do. And you tell it to somebody and they're like, oh, girl, I don't know. Then no, you don't need to be swayed by the opinions of others. But say, for example, what they're offering is a different perspective, and it's a constructive perspective, but you're just gung-ho, like, nope, this is it, and I'm not open to anything else. I'm not open to having a conversation. You hurt my feelings. I don't care that maybe I took it the wrong way. That's not okay. So in that wild woman phase, which we all experience, just be mindful of the ability to flow. Remember, like, we are like the elements of the creation, right? We have the ability to consume and to burn some things up. We have the ability to create. We nurture like the earth. We flow like, the air and the water and all these things. Like, incorporate all of that in how you navigate life. Not saying you're gonna always have it together all the time, but if you can always come back to center and that's your starting point, you'll be fine. The last archetype, Lord, it's 9 o'clock already. Ooh, this is good stuff. The next archetype is the wise woman. The wise woman, she's done all the things. She's gone to the amusement park. She's rode all the rides, bought the t-shirt and wrote the book. And now she's just sitting back on her front porch. This is how I always envision the wise woman. She is sitting back on her front porch in her rocking chair, sipping her tea and telling y'all all about it. And you can choose to listen or not. And it's like, not my monkey, not my circus. Do whatever you want with it. I'm not trying to force my opinion on you. It is what it is. Listen. The beautiful thing about the wise woman, she doesn't have to prove a point to anybody. She is not searching for anything outside of herself. She is so complete and so content. And she literally, y'all, I wish you could see what I see in my mind's eye right now. She is sitting on her front porch. It is one of those colonial style homes. There is a field of flowers in front of her. The sun is setting and she is just so peaceful. The birds are chirping, the crickets are starting to come out. And it is just, she is not rushing to cook dinner because she's already did that. The kids are already grown. She is not rushing to, see what's on TV. Like, there is just an ease that comes with being the wise woman. You just rest in all that you are, all that you have accomplished. There is honor in sitting at the feet of a wise woman. I like to think of our highest self as the wise woman. That is an what's the word that I want to use? That is an undervalued source of wisdom. You ever just sat with like your great grandparents? Lord Jesus have mercy. I miss my great grandmother. My great grandmother would say some stuff and it'd be like, where does that come from? It's like she just knew everything about everything. My grandparents are at that phase now. I just love sitting and soaking up all the wisdom because it's like you can bypass a whole lot of ish if you just sit at the feet of the wise elders around you. Some stuff you don't have to do trial by experience. Some stuff you don't have to touch the eye on the stove to know that it is hot. And it's the same thing with our highest self. And I've never made that correlation until just now. When you really go into the deepest parts of your womb space and you block out the world and you take away the noise of the outside and you take away your timelines and you take away your to-do list and you just, your expectation, all of that, you just erase all of that and you just sit in your womb space. There is so much wisdom. There is such a knowing that comes. Like certain things just come to me and I know it's nothing but divine wisdom. That's that inner wise woman. Your highest self. The part of you that can see past all of this. The part of you that can see in the spiritual realm. The part of you that can see, you can grow your energetic bubble to not just look at like the basement view of it, but you can take the penthouse view and you can like the bird's eye view and you can see the bigger picture of life and the bigger picture of your marriage. So this little relationship or this little argument today doesn't matter because in the grand scheme of your relationship with your children, with your spouse, with your coworkers or whatever, in the grand scheme from the bird's eye view, you get to see something more. That wisdom to me is the wise woman. And we all have that knowing within ourselves and in the women around us. And so from what I need to say, also what comes with the wise woman too, is there's a lot of death that happens in that season of life. Right now, biologically speaking, that's like your elderly phase. That's, your menopause on up to elderly, when you transition from this physical body. That's what that is. Now, in that, you're physically speaking, we're talking, biological life. If you have children, they've gone off to college, you're now an empty nester. The wise woman is mostly the empty nester. So there's that sense of like death or loss, the loss of that identity that's associated with the mother. Because remember, we talked about that. It's the loss of relationships. Maybe you have friends and they've transitioned on, or, for a lot of women I know, they seem to be outliving their husbands. So there's that, and they, that's that, transition and death. But from an energetic standpoint, a lot of the things that you thought were important or that you thought were an intricate part of your life, you got to think of how many in that season of your life, how many relationships do you go through? How many seasons do you go through? How many like deaths of an idea? Maybe, there's some business ideas that failed, or there's some friendships that, now that you are now wiser, you're elevating. Now they had to fall off. Like there's a lot of like loss, death, rebirth in that wise woman phase. But the beauty in even that is that you have all of that wisdom to fall back on. again, you understand in the grand scheme of life, life is full of seasons. Seasons change. When you understand that, you won't trip when the seasons start to change. Different people come in different seasons. Different relationships happen in different seasons. Life is full of ebbs and flows. Again, that's not just old wise woman, that's energetic wise woman as well. We all have her. We can all tap and connect into her. So it's 9:12. I wanted to do a guided meditation moving us through these different archetypes, but I also want to honor the time that we set. So if you guys are okay with us continuing, we'll move through a meditation together, visualization. If not, I'll record it and upload it. All right, I got one, I'm good. All right, awesome sauce. This meditation that we're about to do, I have done several times with myself and with my clients. It's one of my favorites to do. One of the things that I really want to make so clear is that this healing is not just for us. It is for, like, in our own bloodline, our ancestors, as well as the lineage and the legacy. It is for those who have come before us, as well as those who have come after us. And so one of the things I like to talk about when I talk about womb wisdom is legacy and lineage. So we are all open and vulnerable and ready to connect to our womb space. I invite you to just take some deep breaths. At this point, our ability to connect with our womb space is effortless. We understand that we can go into our sacred space at any given moment. We are familiar with our womb. This is a beautiful ongoing connection that we have. So I invite you to create your own way to venture into your womb space. I invite you to step inside your womb. Visualize yourself in your womb space. Inside of your womb space, there is a table, a long banquet table. This table is prepared with beautiful, rich colors of the womb, burnt orange and burgundy, golds and reds. There's flowers on the table, there's candles on the table. This is the most beautiful table inside of your womb space. This space has been prepared just for you. I invite you to have a seat at your table. At the head of the table, there is a huge gold throne, ivory and gold. Have a seat at the head of your table. As you sit at your table and you become comfortable, in walks you, the maiden, you, the mother, you, the wild woman, you, the wise woman. They all greet you with a smile. They have a seat at the table. Now I want you to visualize that in walks your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother. They have a seat at the table. I invite you to have a conversation. But before you do, I really want you to just take inventory at each and every one of those women. What do you notice about their eyes? What do you notice about the way that they are dressed? What do you notice about their posture? Their energy, is it an air of confidence? An air of timidness? Do they light up the room? Or do they fade into the shadows? I invite you to have a conversation with the maiden. Ask her about her first connection with love, her relationship. Is she free? Is she wild? What does she love to do? Does she play? Does she create? Is she trusting? Ask her what she wants you to know. What does she need to tell you? And what does she need from you? When you are ready, I invite you to turn your attention to the mother. You, the mother. What do you notice about her? What is her balance between taking care of herself and taking care of others? What is her level of self-love, self-care, self-preservation? Is she resting or is she going nonstop? Is she still playful at all? Ask her, when did she stop playing? When did she stop questioning? When did she stop believing? Ask her what she wants to share with you. And what does she need from you? Now I want you to turn your attention, when you are ready, to the wild woman. Notice how the energy has shifted. In her quest to be free, in her quest to rebel, is there room for her to still consider others? Is there an opportunity to create more space for understanding, for teamwork, for cooperation? Is she operating out of, is she operating from a place of rebellion or from a place of divine knowing and freedom? Are there still some areas that she needs to heal from? Are there some conversations that she needs to have? What does she need you to know, and what does she need from you? When you are ready, I invite you to move to you, the wise woman. Hmm. Honor her for her wisdom. Honor her for the loss and the pain that she has experienced. Honor her for the lessons. Notice her presence, her energy, her eyes. What lessons does she have to share with you? What connections has she had to let go of? What relationships and soul ties needed to be severed? Oh, sweet wise woman, the things you have seen, the things you have experienced, the things that have gotten you here to this moment. What is it that you need to share? What does she need from you? I want you to turn your attention across the table to your great grandmother. Who is she? What has she endured? What has she experienced? What energetic ties can you see flowing from her to your grandmother, to your mother, to you. What dreams did she had to release? What sacrifices has she had to make? What are her strengths? What is her glory? What strengths can you see from her to your grandmother, to your mother, to you? What is it that she wants you to know and understand? What is it that she needs from you? What wisdom does she have to share? What cautionary tales does she have? When you are ready, I want you to turn your attention to your grandmother. Take notice of her posture. She is the bridge between what is, what was, and what will be. What stories did she have to live out because of her mother, your great grandmother? What burdens did she carry that weren't even her own? What choices did she take? What risks did she take? What rebellious acts? All to be her own woman, her own person. What wisdom has she passed to your mother? Some that she learned from her mother, some that came while she was trying to navigate her own journey. What energetic cords do you see from your grandmother to your mother to you? What does she want you to know? And what does she need from you? When you are ready, I want you to turn your attention to your mother. Look her in her eyes. Grab her by the hands. Have a moment with your mother with a different understanding. What do you now know, see, and feel after connecting with your great grandmother and your grandmother? Who is this woman that stands before you? Who was she as the maiden, the mother, the wild woman, and the wise woman? What burdens has she had to carry that are not her own? What stories did she have to live out because of the actions of both her mother, your grandmother, and her grandmother, your great grandmother? What do you now understand and know about your mother? This woman who stands before you. What similarities are there? What differences? What dreams has she had to put aside for you, for her mother, your grandmother, and for her grandmother, your great-grandmother? What does she want you to know? And what does she need from you? When you are ready and you've had conversations with all of the women, I invite you to stand up from your table. You invite the others to do the same. You walk towards the back of your room space where there is a large golden mirror. You all stand in front of this mirror in a single line, holding hands. You in the middle, your grandmother, your mother, your great-grandmother to the right of you. You the maiden, you the mother, you the wild woman, you the wise woman to the left of you. You are standing directly in front of the mirror. The others are holding your hands. And I want you to repeat these words to yourself while looking into your own eyes. I am who I am because of who you are. I heal myself in order to heal you. I honor each and every one of you for your individual journeys, your individual experiences. I take all lessons, all connections. I filter them through my womb space. And I live as a healed, whole, healthy womb keeper. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for trusting me with the most intimate parts of you. Ashe, Amen, and Hallelujah. Namaste. And when you feel complete, I want you to imagine in your mind's eye that all of those women slowly begin to fade, and it is only you standing in front of the mirror. Take inventory of yourself, your energy, your eyes, all that you feel in this moment. Is it pride? Is it remembrance? I want you to imagine in your mind's eye that walking towards you is a young lady, a young girl. It is unclear who she is, but you know that she is a direct descendant from you. Who is she because of this work that you were doing? What is she able to do because of this work that you were doing? There are no baggages from the past. There are no pain, sorrow, and disappointment from others before her. There is nourishment, there is healing. She is free, she can play, she can create, she can be inquisitive, she can be all the things because of this work that you were doing. You look at her, she looks at you, you smile, she smiles. What does she have to say to you? What is it that she wants you to know? And what is it that she needs from you? When the conversation is over, she fades into the void of your womb space. You begin to walk back to the front of your womb space, thanking her for this moment, this beautiful journey. You bless her for all that she is, honor her for always being your sacred space. You vow to return again. And when you are ready, I invite you to step out of your womb space and bring your awareness back into this moment, back into the present, back to this call. Bring awareness back into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Move your shoulders. Mm. Hmm. Wow, that was not the meditation I did before. That, mm. Oh God. I'm so grateful for this work. Oh God, I'm so grateful. um, if anybody would like to share, or if you want to take this time to journal, I invite you to do so. Um, this is such powerful, necessary work that we are doing. And I just honor you for being called to it. And so, if there is nothing that anybody wants to share, I definitely, Let me make sure I didn't miss any comments. Um, I definitely want to honor this energy that we're feeling in this. Like I can just sit in this space, but I know I have to go, y'all. I have to go. So I want to just close us out with just some sound healing to ground us. I have the bowls closer, so hopefully y'all can hear them tonight. Whatever you do, because of course, as your own womb wellness advocate, your own resident healer, it is up to you to figure out what aligns and what feels good. Excuse me, for me, it's sound healing, but whatever you do to kind of ground you back, I invite you to do so after this call. Remember to drink your water. And just be very mindful and aware of the fact that your womb just had a very beautiful experience. I love you guys so much. And I'm just gonna all right. You all have the most beautiful rest of your evening. Remember to discover your inner sparkle and let it shine, because the world is waiting on you to just be you. And when a woman heals her womb, she heals the world. Here's to us healing. I love you all so much. Good night.